Time now to get over to the kitchen and check in with ABC7 Culinary Director Judi Gallagher for the first time. Judi?
You know, I love making a roast on Sundays. Typically, I'll go to the beach or work out in the morning, then come home and we have a meal about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. It's great because it's your main meal, so it cuts down on the calories, cuts down on the work, and roast chicken is the king. You know, when you're becoming a chef, you're often graded on how well you make a true buttery roast chicken. And I have found this recipe from Food and Wine magazine that's based on a restaurant that's known for the roast chicken. It's buttermilk dipped, and what I like about that is I dip my chicken, my cut up chicken, when I'm making fried chicken, I soak it overnight in buttermilk and hot sauce. Well, today we're going to use lots of garlic, porcini dust, and I'll teach you how to do that. Very simple. We'll serve it along with some roasted local squash and get ready for the first of the fall flavors. So stay with me. We're making a beautiful buttermilk and garlic brine chicken in just a few minutes. First thing you want to do is get ready for the brine. It's going to brine between 6 and 12 hours. Do not let it set for 24. So we have the water on high. We have about 2 cups of water. What we're going to do is we're going to add chopped rosemary, fresh from the garden. You know, rosemary grows year-round, so it's a great thing to have. About 2 tablespoons of sugar, and any good brine, you're going to go with the kosher salt. So I'm going to do about 3/4 of a cup of kosher salt. And remember, this is for the whole amount. This brine is so good that you may consider, if you're doing like a bone-in turkey breast for Thanksgiving, think about making this brine. It's going to be really good. The key with brines is you also want to make sure that they chill down before you actually put the protein in, which will be our roasting chicken. Now, roasting chicken about this size costs about 11 bucks tops at the fresh market. So to me, that's going to serve 4 to 5 people. We'll have some delicious squash with it. It's just going to be perfect. So we've added the salt and sugar, and we're stirring until it gets completely dissolved. Now the next thing we're going to do is you can buy dried porcini mushrooms like at a Geyer's, Fresh Market. So many different places will have the dried mushrooms. If you can't find dried porcini, chanterelles are going to do fine. Just don't do those black trumpet mushrooms. Use your spice grinder, a little coffee grinder. I always have one labeled as spice, one as coffee, and that's going to go in there about 3 to 4 tablespoons, and it really adds this earthy tone to it. Now, garlic. It's all about the garlic, right? So we've got about 10 cloves of smashed garlic, and I've saved 2 cloves of garlic that are sliced. That's going to go with the oil in a little bit that we're going to do. So this is going to just simmer till it's all mixed together, and then what we're going to do is, let me slide that pan over, we're going to take it off the heat, and we're going to add a quart of buttermilk. And this buttermilk, like I said, I do it with fried chicken. This buttermilk makes it so creamy. So it's off the heat. We're going to do the buttermilk, and then what I do is add icy cold water. So we'll do that at break, and then the chicken's going to go in there, and it's going to marinate for about 6 hours, okay? So when we come back, let's talk about getting the squash ready and how we're going to line the chicken up in the pan. It is delicious and Jacques Pepin approved, I'm sure. So after the chicken has brined for 6 to 12 hours, you're going to take it out of the brine, you're going to pat it dry really well. And I always stick about 2 shallots right in the cavity, keep it kind of loose. And this is going to go in the oven for 15 minutes at 425 degrees. Now, after that, we're going to add some melted butter and brush the melted butter in there, and you're going to get that great golden color. Now, for the last part, and this is what I really love about this particular recipe, is that it adds this extra dimension of butter and garlic oil that's going to be brushed on for your guests right after you cut it and serve it. So let's pull this off. We'll add some sliced garlic. So, you know, I always say a great roast chicken has either lemon and garlic or some other form with garlic. So that part's perfect. Now let's get this squash prepared, okay? nothing like the fall squash, like acorn squash. A lot of times you'll see people make it with maple syrup. I'm not a huge fan of sweet vegetables, so I'm going to go more on a savory side, and I'm actually going to use some Moroccan seasoning from the Spice and Tea Exchange. I love this. That's another place where you can get things like porcini salt, and they might be able to get you porcini dust. So we line that up, and then what I'm going to do is this is going to be for the garlic, oil, and butter, is going to be both for the acorn squash and to brush the chicken at the end. So we're going to let the chicken finish up in the oven for the full 15 minutes, brush it with butter, and that gives it that unbelievable juicy brown crust, and the flavor is just bursting forward. I normally roast a chicken 20 minutes upside down so that breast will have all the juice, but since we've brined it in buttermilk, it's going to work just fine. So once a chicken gets brushed, what we're going to do, for time's sake, I'm going to take it out and keep that oven at 425, okay? Then I'm going to line up the butternut squash. Now, obviously, the acorn squash. Obviously, the squash is not going to take as long, so we're going to keep an eye on that, but some of the splattering from the chicken is going to be fabulous. And that butter, garlic will drip on that as well. So we are just about ready to just kind of glaze it with the garlic oil butter and serve up a fine meal. I'll be right back. Here we have it, Sunday roast, perfectly to serve. Now I'm going to take the last of this garlic herb butter with the oil, and I'm going to drizzle it on everything. I mean, this is just, it's so good. Like I said, there's nothing like a real classic roast chicken. Let me turn around to show you the front. And the shallots that are inside the cavity are going to be delicious to eat as well. So carve this, enjoy your Sunday afternoon. And don't forget, you can log on to www.mysuncoast.com, click on the dining section, and you'll be able to get the recipe, the video, and so much more. Have a delicious meal, and I'll send it back to you guys.